Cal and Kenny here from Riverside Health and Fitness. Every week we would like to have a weekly news for all of you, including non-members, just to get an idea of who we are and just share wealth of knowledge that's out there. And because we're so adamant about getting good scientific facts and data presented in our weekly news, we would like to invite people in those specialties. So this week we're going to have Starkie Sowers. He is a health expert over here in Riverside. And with that, we have an interview for you all to watch. Enjoy.
So we're here today with Starkie Sowers. Starkie is an old friend of mine. We've known each other for almost 40 years.
Yeah. You would remember, of course, that our dads went to high school together, right?
That's a good point also. And went to high school with your wife's dad.
That's right.
So we go way, way back. So Starkie Sowers is a certified nutritional consultant at Clark's Nutrition. He's a certified nutritionist, and he is on the faculty at Huntington University of Health Sciences. He's director of training for Clark's Nutrition, and he's been in the health and nutrition industry for 49 years.
Don't you love that thought?
Pretty much since you're about 2.
Yeah, well, 10.
So he's got credentials, and I've often told people that you have as much knowledge in nutrition as any PhD I've ever met. So I know you're humble about that, but I look at what you've done at Clark's Nutrition, and you are the face of Clark's Nutrition.
Yeah, we're trying to change that, man. I'm getting older, right? So we're trying to bring some of the kids into the
The kids.
Yeah.
So if you've ever driven down the freeway and seen a billboard of Clark's with the employees, Starkie's the main guy. If you walk into the store, you'll hear a voice doing lectures over the PA.
That's right.
That's Starkie's voice. He is the and Clark, the owner of Clark's, Ray Clark, isn't it?
Yeah, Ray Clark's the owner, and
Jeff Clark is one who's really kind of running the day by day. So he's technically the grandpa of Jim Clark, who started Clark's back in '72.
And know that you are way more humble than you would ever admit this, but you are what Clark's has become what they have. I know the Clark family has done tremendous things, but
Definitely, obviously, dedicated employee. And Ray says I'm the adopted son.
Right.
So I'll take that on for sure. Right. I think the biggest thing is always remember there's always behind the scenes stuff that are happening all the time. So I've always kind of been out in the front. So a lot of people go, oh yeah, Starkie is like, and don't get me wrong, that's a great tangibility. But then at the same time, the Clark family's put their what's off to make that business become very successful. And they're a great family to work with, and literally kind of grew up with kids too. So a lot of fun.
and they have where are all their locations? I know they started with one in Riverside.
yeah, so
Riverside was the first one in '72, and then Ray Clark bought Max Nutrition, which was in '78, and then they, of course, made them Clark's Nutrition. Moved a couple stores around, things of that nature. Acquired a Loma Linda store in '98, and then we opened up a Ranch Garage in 2005. And we closed down the San Bernardino store in 2014. We opened up June. So the stores got bigger. Obviously the small stores that we had before, 2,000, 3,000 square foot. Now they're a lot larger. Riverside, everyone goes, oh, Riverside store is so small. It's like, yeah, go to the other stores that are huge.
and we've always wanted to do more in Riverside. It's just the building situation's never going to fit.
Right.
Yeah.
Loma Linda is actually a former grocery store.
Yeah, it was old.
Old Stater Brothers. Yeah, so we took that over and put a store in there. Ray was friends with Harrison Lightfoot and some of the guys that he went to school with them. When he was a kid, some of the big Stater Brothers guys back in the day. So then, of course, they come from the Clark family. Jim and Ray came from a Smart and Final background, grocery background.
And so, how old were you when you started with
Yeah, I was 20. So 20 years old. So it was 1981. So that was like a good moment. So kind of been there for a couple days. So it's been fun.
And so, through the years, you've obviously progressed in the business, and you've become more than just a stock boy.
So there was just like 6 of us just hacking around, having fun, and working out, and doing the deal, and stuff like that. So basically, kind of what happened was we ended up in a situation where, right about 1996, Jeff Clark as well as Bruce Clark, the kids kind of wanted to start taking the stores to the next level. They talked with their dad. They hired in a consulting firm, and they kind of sat down and did those personality evaluations and found out what made us tick. And one of the biggest things about Clark's was the knowledge base, having knowledgeable people, passionate people about it. It's not just a job sort of thing. So what happened is instead of me managing the store, we just kind of reached away and made me the director of education. We started writing curriculum and training the staff, so that way we can preserve that core value.
What are you the most proud of with your history at Clark's Nutrition?
My history at Clark's Nutrition?
What are
I
you
mean,
most
what's
proud
cool
of?
is to be an employee for like almost 40 years and not be, cut out of the project. I think the biggest thing is, being part of the family.
And just helping them with the vision and being able to not only help them with their vision, but also kind of bring some of my vision into it as well too. And so, to see that go forth, it's been really fun.
So you've developed the entire training program there, haven't you?
Yeah, that was the idea. It was like, when the consultant came in, he said, hey, look, you're the guy, you're the one that's molded for this to be a teacher. You're the one that needs to carry that message forward. So I've written about 1,200 pages worth of curriculum. And so, there's various training programs. We're doing, we always do stuff on video or this or that or whatever the case might be. And there's written material as well. We have stages. Some of the stuff we learned with Huntington College, we offer some of their classes in. We also offer some other different things. Recently we've had the Pacific Institute of Aromatherapy because aromatherapy is so big, and a few other different things like that. So we add those in the upper division classes that we have, and so that way we also have some congruency. I think one of the ways it kind of got started, it's kind of fun to talk about stuff right now. But one day I walked into one of our stores and I was listening to one of the guys. This is when I was managing, and he was telling a lady she needed to quit taking her chemotherapy and just take vitamin C. And I was like, whoa, because a lot of the 70s and 80s, the health food stores wanted to cure everybody of a disease, didn't know their limitations and what that they're not doctors. And I was like, pulled me aside, and I said, dude, you can't say that. And he's like, I can say anything I want because my mom's a lawyer. And she goes, I have freedom of speech. And I was like, really? And I'm like, okay. So, as times would evolve, it was like, okay, we've got to make up rules and regulations on some of these things that can and cannot be said, what can be done. So that's kind of morphed those, thoughts of like, we've got to get everybody on page and put ourselves in a position where we're being responsible and also being more efficient with what we do.
And so how long, if somebody wants to be a floor person in Clark's, how long is the program, the education program?
Yes.
So, there's different divisions. The division one's like 12 weeks. We just kind of get them up and running and just kind of help them just navigate and be able to do what needs to be done. As soon as they're done with that, they go what we call division 2, and that takes usually about a year. And then we end up with the division 3 and 4, and that takes about another year as well. And then 5 is just ongoing. Once you've gotten that far, you just keep rolling on. So as long as you stay with us, we just keep you in some kind of a training.
So is it safe to say that after 4 or 5 years, you have the equivalence of a bachelor's or a master's degree?
No, not even close. I mean, and that's one of the things that's always, it's a lot of work to be able to put together a decent program and expect people to do things while they're working. So there's only so many hours I can get a woman to do that. A lot of the experience that's gained, of course, is on the floor. And so, when you look at, different types of programs, they're getting 24/7, being hit by questions, like how do I navigate this and how do I do that? And once they have the tools in place, they're able to actually be able to maintain not only a decent knowledge base, but also to help to make what we call educated decisions on helping somebody with their questions. So what we're not doing is we're not a clinician. We're not taking over and saying, look, here's the deal. Bring me this and bring me that, and I'll just now take over and make you who you need to be. So what we're doing is helping guide them into the best decisions on what supplements they need. So it's a little bit different thinking, so to speak.
So obviously I would consider you an expert in healthy lifestyle, which is what we try to do here at Riverside Health and Fitness. What are 3 things that you would tell the average person walking around on the street to do on a daily basis or a weekly basis to stay healthy, to have a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, so
Obviously, if you're going to stay healthy, obviously I made a passion of this all my life. I think I was 10 or 11 years old when I made a commitment to it. And so, then by the time I was 16, I committed to working out for the rest of my life. I said, done, this is going to happen. A few years later, obviously, I ended up dedicating my life to Jesus Christ. So that was another thing that for me So the thinking of that, if I'm going to boil it down to three things, number one is movement. Okay, so you've got to move your body. So think about your lymphatic system, which is 2 to 3 times the length of your circulatory system. It's the garbage disposal, part of the nutrient delivery system. Well, it doesn't move like the heart moves with contraction with blood. So your blood systemically moves because of heart contraction. But your lymphatic system, being 2 to 3 times the length of that, only moves by muscular contraction. So if you're not doing muscular contraction, you're literally not taking out the trash, getting the nutrients where they need to be. So imagine going into your kitchen and setting yourself up in a situation where you made a bunch of dinner and then you just left the scraps out for a couple of weeks. Dude, it's going to be maggots and freaking flies and stuff like that. Well, that's the lymphatic system. That's cleansing. So a lot of times people, once they start moving, they go, oh my God, I feel so much better. So I think movement's absolutely critical. I was going to do number 2. Me and my dad talk about this all the time. It's like, man, if you were destitute, thrown on an island, and you only had a couple different decisions, what would be number 1? And that's the workouts. That's the movement. In the movement, I should probably clarify, I think you need to lift weights, and we'll talk about that as well too. So number 2 would be, pay attention to your diet. So, obviously we're all going to eat some type of junk food. This Friday night, I squatted like crazy day. I did 8 sets of 8, ending with sets with 300 pounds. So guess what? I'm going to freaking eat some ice cream. So, I'm treating myself to that. Right. But I don't do that every day. Okay, so I think it's important for us to remember that we need to eat whole foods. We need to eat foods that, God intended us to eat. The colors and everything that's there have reasons. It has to be it's supposed to attract us.
If I can interrupt real quick, can you, just for our listeners and viewers, can you define whole foods?
Yeah, so really, if you think about it, whole foods are things that haven't been processed. So and don't get me wrong, we'll eat like Cheerios or different things like that as a family. That's like a treat. But when I get up, it's like, what are you going to eat? Are you going to eat Cheerios or are you going to eat sprouted bread? It's like, no, sprouted bread because that's a whole food. So the other thing is, the more refined a food is, the more nutrients are lost. Okay, so the more nutrients we lose, our body needs to literally. So what we know is there's 29 nutrients that are on the RDA. Okay, someday it'll probably be like 120 nutrients that we know. Seems like every couple of years we add a couple more nutrients. And so in order to get those nutrients, God was super nice, basically providing us foods to eat. So I remember as a kid growing up, the girl next door, she would eat dirt. So we'd go outside and we'd play, ride skateboards and stuff like that. She would eat dirt. And I was like, dude, we eat dirt food, right? So I didn't, whatever, we eat dirt. So later on in life, I started running the GNC when I was 18 years old. And this lady used to come in, she goes, I need this product. Yeah, no problem. So every time she goes, don't ever run out of this. Whatever. So this went out for like 2 years and I ran out of it. And she rolls in the door and she goes, you ran out of this stuff. I'm sorry, I quit making it. Started jonesing, it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I'm like, well, what do you need this for? For 2 years you've been coming in here and bugging me about this thing. She looks around and is like, we're going to cut some type of a drug deal or something like that. And she goes, I crave dirt. And I'm like, oh, what? She goes, I wake up every day and I want to eat dirt. If I take these mineral tablets, I don't want to eat dirt. She goes, I wanted to eat dirt all my life. So they call it pica, which basically is an iron deficiency, right? And so anyways, I said, well, here's another product that'll work. You're just lacking minerals. So I go, you ever think about eating right? She goes, oh God, no. She goes, I eat junk food. I love junk food. And she goes, I only eat 1 meal a day. And I'm like going, that's where you crave dirt, because you're not getting enough dirt in the foods that you need to eat, right? And so ultimately, God was really nice to us, so we don't have to eat dirt. He made us fruits and vegetables and all sorts of fun stuff that we can actually, eat and be able to get the dirt that we need. So does that make any sense to you?
Absolutely.
So not refined foods. Typically, if you look at it, if man's got a hold of it in a large amount of ways and process it, chances are it's probably lost a lot of the nutrients that were originally there.
What we've been telling our clients for a long, long time now is, if God made it, it's probably good for you.
Right.
And they say, well, what do you know? How do you know if God made it? Well, it grows out of the ground where it moves around.
Yeah, isn't that fascinating?
Yeah.
Think about this. I have a lemon tree out in the backyard, right? And every time we pull lemons off, it has a seed.
So like at the end of the year, and this thing just proliferates, it just explodes lemons, right? So we lemon everything, lemon this, lemon that, all these other fun stuff, right? So if we took every one of those seeds and then we replanted one and actually stocked it up, let's say just 10% of them grew, right? I'd have so many lemon trees, the whole neighborhood would be just overran, right? So God's in the recreation business constantly, and so His food's designed that way too, to help us recreate our bodies and help it rebuild.
And they have the most nutrients.
Last one, Chad.
Yeah.
Dude, by the way, just fun moment. Think about Tang. Remember when we were kids, you could buy Tang.
Uh-huh.
So what was Tang all about? It was developed for the astronauts. Right. Yeah. So when they went, so they put in vitamin C and all that. It was kind of like the substitute for orange juice, right? You're gonna drink Tang, or you're gonna drink orange juice, bro.
I'm probably gonna drink orange juice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we boiled it down. Your three things:
So movement, number one,
Whole Foods,
and number three, supplementation.
So now we're going to pick on food a little bit. So let's take an apple, Washington State apple, nice little red and everything like that. Pick somewhere in September, had roughly about 60 milligrams of vitamin C in it. So you bought it the other day, put it on your table, and set down today. Don't get me wrong, there's still nutrients in, there's vitamins, there's carbs, there's some proteins, some amino acids, and stuff like that, right? So, but the ultimate thing that we're looking at is the preservation element. That thing's sitting in the warehouse for the last 4.5 months or 6 months. What happened to the vitamin C content? It was dust, dude. It's not going to be there. So we just don't eat fresh. So eating fresh foods would be absolutely ultimate. But one thing for sure is filling those nutrient gaps. Supplementation becomes a huge entity, not only for me but also for Clark's Nutrition. That's what we're passionate about.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Absolutely, it does. I don't know if it makes sense to everybody watching. I've always kind of felt like to have a healthy lifestyle is very simple, but we complicate the heck out of things.
Yeah.
And I don't really understand that. So just to recap, your top three are movement, Whole Foods, supplementation. Let's talk for a minute about supplementation.
Fine.
To me, Clark's Nutrition is the place to go for supplementation
We like to think so.
because you guys have good, clean products.
Yeah.
Tell me about some of the products that are out there the difference between a good protein powder and a bad protein powder.
Yeah, so the biggest thing, there's a lot of great companies out there.
We sell a lot of them, and there's other different companies that make phenomenal products. You always have bad actors that are out there, which is cool. The FDA has gotten much more efficient in the last few years. We begged them when we passed it's called the DSHEA bill, the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994, right? So I actually sit on an MPA board and help try to guide some videos, some social media stuff with them. But ultimately, there's a whole lobby behind the supplement industry, and there is purposely. One of the reasons why is because the Andros or the bad actors, people that splice the law and go out there and put out things that are borderline drugs. There has to be some type of an enforcement agency that deals with these type of individuals. Just a heads up, in the last 10 years, there's not been one death of dietary supplements. So just give you a heads up on that. I think that's very critical. A lot of times people question the safety of it. Just a heads up, if you want to do yourself a favor, look up on the internet. I'm not going to tell you the statistics, but look how many people died in lettuce last year. You might be a little bit alarmed and concerned about that. The FDA probably should be spending a lot more time there than they should on dietary supplements. Dietary supplements are regulated as foods. They're not drugs. They're not supposed to be drugs, and they're not supposed to be regulated as drugs. So that's very critical. So ultimately, the raw materials differ. So where are you going to find a different protein? The biggest thing about a protein is you want to find out what's going to work best for your body. So I love whey protein. It makes me feel phenomenal, right? So my daughter Jenna, who's lactose sensitive and milk sensitive and stuff like that, you give her whey protein and her stomach feels phenomenal. So one of the things to remember about nutrition, and this is the toughest part, is it's probably one of the best words. It's called biochemical individuality. So same thing with foods. You go out and start eating foods. Like my wife, she eats kiwis. She has an allergic reaction. So we feed her kiwis every day.
Great.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Right.
So obviously kiwis are on the list, right? So ultimately, one of the things you have to do is you kind of work with what your body has. A couple different great companies. Obviously, you sell Beverly. I was telling you the store earlier. My dad used to sell Beverly in his gym back in the 70s. So I had to go down to Venice Beach and pick it up from his distributor. So I drive down to Venice Beach and pick it up because very few people sold Beverly. He's been around for years. Obviously, the new owners, but the guy who started it, founded it, makes a great product. MRN makes a great product. There's a lot of other different companies that are out there that make good proteins. So proteins become essential, especially once you start lifting weights. I think it's critical to remember. The Joe average walking down the street will consume hopefully about 60 grams of protein a day. So a couple little caveats. Once you hit like 65, your protein needs actually go up. Which most people don't know that. So one of the biggest disease is called sarcopenia for elderly. Okay, so being 60 here in a few months, I started thinking of something like this. We actually know that the elderly need more protein to maintain muscle mass, which helps with the immune system, obviously everyday function, longevity, as well as a bunch of other different things. So ultimately, a lot of people don't include and get enough protein, and I think that's where protein supplements do make a big plus. mind you, there's other things obviously out there, multivitamins and things of that nature. There's a lot of strong companies, and if you ever want a list of some strong companies, I would definitely give you a strong list of different companies. We, Clark's, make some as well, or have it made for us. I've probably visited 30 manufacturing facilities, and as you know, I have my own vitamin line, and so because of that, stay pretty aggressive to manufacturing issues and things of that nature as well.
So you actually have developed some of your own products?
Well, I've actually not only developed my own products, but I've also formulated for many companies throughout the years. So most people don't know about that. That's okay.
Well, it's because you're humble and it wasn't on the list of
Yeah.
your credentials at the beginning. So the average person walking around who starts working out, they're in the gym, they just started, maybe they're 45, 50 years old, never really worked out. In your years of experience, what supplements would you suggest for those people just starting out?
As we were saying, you know, the Joe average guy walking down the street, 60 grams of protein. Once you step in the gym, Joe average is now. So you're going to need at least another 20, 40, 50 grams of protein a day.
So you're talking 100, 150 grams of protein?
Yeah, I would suggest, you know, 80 to 100 would be a nice zone to be at. So I think that's comfortable. By the way, you might rotate that. Some days you just don't need as much protein. Some people will start, you know, going to hit you on email and say, oh my God, that's not enough. Other individuals will go back and forth. So ISSA, which is ISSA, the International Sports Nutrition Society, they basically have done a lot of research on protein, and they argue that roughly about 2 grams per kilo would be an average intake. So that ends up being roughly about a gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 160, it's supposed to be 160. So and they not only have done extensive longevity studies on that for safety, but a lot of people don't feel comfortable with that. Like I said, 80 to 100 would be probably a good number to be around for sure at the minimum. So that said, I think protein becomes one of the number one things. Because if you're going to get muscle hypertrophy, which is tissue size and gain, you got to have the additional protein. Critical window is post-workout. Probably 30 to 50 grams of protein post-workout. That's super important. So the other thing is a multivitamin, because now all of a sudden, guess what? Your nutrient needs have gone up. And as your nutrient needs go up, your needs for vitamins are going to go up. So remember that the RDAs, which is the United States recommended daily allowances, when you read this side down, you go, oh, this has 60 milligrams of vitamin C. That's 100% of the RDA. I should be fine. Those were designed for healthy young individuals. Those are not designed for elderly individuals like with spotting conditions and have different types of environmental perturbation situations going on, all sorts of other fun stuff and challenges. So living in Southern California, Dr. Wong, who used to be RCC, said if you're not taking 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, which is tell me what kind of roses you want at your field. You know, and he was that adamant about it because he was a Linus Pauling friend and cohort. He wrote a book about nutrition, but ultimately I think we need additional vitamin C as part of that package, and also vitamin D, especially as you get older. You don't synthesize that vitamin D. You just don't synthesize it. I had a blood test done about a couple of years ago, very extensive blood test, and my vitamin D levels were low, and I spent plenty of time listening. So, and I take extra vitamin D.
Wow.
So I think multivitamin, protein, for sure, those become the critical things. And probably one of the other missing gaps out there is probably going to be fatty acids. Most people don't get enough omega-3s and things of that nature. So good fish oil, fatty acid, or flax if you're a vegetarian.
Great. All good advice. So, just to wrap things up, where are you headed in the future? What's your next 5 years look like?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Everyone's been asking me that since I think I'm hitting the milestone, right? So for and I probably shouldn't go public with this, but for my
is this going to be an exclusive?
Yeah, this will be an exclusive. It's been rattling around in my head for a little while. I'm going to try to hit 225 pounds. I'm going to try to hit 60 reps on my 60th birthday.
60 reps of what?
Squats for 225 pounds for 60 reps. I thought that would be a good goal.
Oh, without resting?
Well, no, yeah, it's one set, 60
Wow.
reps,
Okay.
constantly. So I don't know.
I think that's, I'll be there with the oxygen.
Right, yeah. I think that would be a good one. So there's that. I told my wife I was going to be in the best shape of my life when I'm 60. So a bunch of my buddies talking to me about maybe doing bodybuilding. So I don't know if that will happen or not, but that's out there. I'll just definitely look the best I can at 60. So I think that's kind of on the horizon. And I've been pacing that actually the last 3 years, knowing that day's coming. So I can try to get ready for that. So the other thing we'll do is we'll probably forward the education. So ultimately when that happens, one of the things I want to do is leave a foundation for Clark's to be able to be successful in the future. So that's been on my mind a lot the last few years. Then there's some other personal things with my own personal vitamin company. I want to accelerate that and change it up, and maybe let my daughter and kids take that over and stuff like that. So those are little moments. So yeah, this is an exclusive. You actually got more out of me than the average person would get. My wife's probably going to go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you said that."
I didn't know you were going to do that stuff.
Right. So I think I'm reinventing the next few years. I feel good. God has absolutely blessed me with great health, and I do everything I basically did when I was 16. I did have the goal of slam dunking, basketball, because I still play a lot of basketball.
You put on an 8-foot net.
Well, I've done that before. But I think the 10-foot net's over with, but I don't think that's going to happen. So.
Well, a couple thoughts. Number one, I'm sure you're only halfway to your final day on Earth, so you got plenty of time, because I've never known a healthier individual, and it's because of your expertise. And the other thing is, if you commit to a bodybuilding show at 60, I'll be 55 in January, and I'll do one with you.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, so I'm up the ante with you right there.
Oh, geez.
And I said I did one. I said I'd never do another.
Okay, all right.
But
So there it is, bro.
And we'll have you back another time, because we're out of time for the day. But I know you've trained nutrition-wise and physically a lot of different bodybuilders, and I want to have you back to talk about those incidents.
Yeah, that's been really fun. That really maps back to
How I got my education, which was very different. Of course, remember, back in the RCC days, I'll wrap up with this. I know we're going to wrap the buttons up. But back in the RCC days, late 70s or early 80s, I took a nutrition class. And the lady there, she was talking about carbs, proteins, and fats, and all that I was interested in. At that time, I'd been on keto for 2 years, purposely to gain weight. I was doing 36 rods a day, quart of cream, a couple pounds of steak, blah, blah, blah. So,
Which everybody
does.
Yeah, right.
By the way, my cholesterol is 119 after 5 years of doing that. So just give you a heads up on it. So anyways, in her class, she talked about eating sugar, refined sugar is the same as oatmeal. She talked, our midterm was to go to Clark's Nutrition and find heresy in nutrition classes, or in heresy in nutrition world. And then our final was to go to McDonald's and eat at McDonald's for 3 days straight, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and be able to do the 4-food group. Okay, so I basically took the test and put false, everything I thought was true, and everything I thought was true I put false, and I sent them back and did my chemistry homework. She got pissed off at me and kicked me out of the class. All right, so we've obviously evolved a lot when it comes to nutrition in the last few years, and so when I think about where we're going and what we're doing, I see that nutrition is constantly evolving. I think the biggest thing to remember is to try to keep it simple and keep it easy, because if you don't do that, you'll get lost up in all the craziness. Remember that research doesn't produce final results; it produces more research. Okay, so when somebody comes out and says vitamin E does this, or vitamin C does that, or this does this, hang in there another 5 or 10 years, because you'll probably have another thought.
Right.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Starkie, Sowers, I appreciate you being with us.
Yeah, thanks for.
All right, gang, what I want to talk to you now about is an exercise that I recommend a lot for people, because it does some things that most bodybuilders don't do now. And I'm not expecting anybody watching this to be a bodybuilder to get up on stage, oil down with a tan, and pose. But bodybuilders used to do this a lot back in the 70s and 80s, and what they call the golden era of bodybuilding. And it's an exercise called the vacuum. And what the vacuum does is it helps to shrink your waist and give you control over your abdominals. I don't know how far back the vacuum goes, but the man that really made it more famous than anybody else is a man named Frank Zane. I have a picture of Frank Zane doing a vacuum pose, which I believe earned him, is the one pose that really probably earned him Mr. Olympia back in the late 70s. So I'm going to move in close so you can see this picture. So there you see Frank Zane. He's doing a perfect vacuum pose. A lot of times it's done with the hands over the head. But what it is you gain control over your abdominal muscles, and you're able to suck them in really tight, and it shows the rib cage and all that kind of thing. Why do I think this is important? The vacuum does a couple of different things. Number one, it helps shrink your waistline. Picture yourself putting on a belt and then tightening it as tight as you can. You'd have to bring your belly button in, tighten it, and then once you tighten that belt, your stomach couldn't go anywhere because it's locked in. Well, what the vacuum does is it tightens up your transverse abdominals. So what are your transverse abdominals? They're not your abs. You know, you look at some guy who's real ripped and he's got the abs showing. Those are not your transverse abdominals. To see your transverse abdominals, you would have to remove your normal abdominals that everybody sees. And then your transverse abdominals are part of your core muscles, and they sit underneath and act like a natural weight belt. They kind of go across this way. So the way that you work your transverse abdominals, which one last thing that I want to say about those is they sit against your intestines. And a lot of people claim that because you're working the muscles right next to your intestines, it can actually aid in digestion through your digestive tract. So how do you work your transverse abdominals? There's only a couple of different ways to work them. The best way is to do vacuums. So what the vacuum is you think about breathing, but you're not breathing in through your lungs, you're breathing through your abdominals. So think about your abdominals as a balloon. When you take a breath in, you put air in that balloon, and the balloon comes out. You exhale to let the air out of that balloon, and the air comes out of it. So to do a vacuum, I want you to force all of the air out of your abdominals and try to touch your belly button to your backbone. Notice that it goes way in. Try to hold that there as long as you can. And then after 10 or 15 seconds, if you're beginning, take a breath. Try to work up to 30 to 45 seconds, maybe even a minute. So if you need to take breaths in that time, do little shallow breaths into your lungs. But that belly button, from here, if you can see through my shirt, all of the air, and then once your air is out, another extra push to get that belly button back in. After a while, you'll gain a lot of control over your abs, but your waistline will also shrink. If you're preparing for a bodybuilding contest or just that pool party where you want to impress people, wow, look at how great their waist looks. Start working on your vacuums. So the question might come up, how often do I do vacuums? You can actually do vacuums every day. I do them about twice a week. You can do them in the shower. You can actually do them while you're driving to work. Just think in your car driving along. Push your belly button all the way back to your backbone and hold it there as long as you can. Bodybuilders, when they get up on stage, they'll try to hold the vacuum while they do different poses. And what it does, it makes the waist look very, very small. And then it creates the illusion of having a really nice V taper. The V taper may not be all that great if they're not doing a vacuum because the proportions are different. So you want to shrink that waist down as much as you can, but after time, doing a lot of vacuums, your waist will automatically be smaller without you having to do a vacuum. So give them a try. If you have any questions or comments about that, let us know through our website or Facebook or Instagram. There's a million ways to get a hold of us. Talk to me about vacuums and if you have any success in them.
So thank you everyone for following us. We've noticed new subscribers to our YouTube channel, many likes on our Facebook page. Riverside is just so neat. I mean, I see the community and just many people supporting each other, and let's get that synergy going. Again, you can subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can even share it to other friends that are non-members. We would love to just, again, share the wealth of knowledge that's out there. And also Facebook, along with Instagram. And any questions you have that's related to health and fitness, we would love to get that answered the best way we can. I guess that's it.